In the wake of recent coups in West Africa, the West African countries of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso found themselves isolated both politically and economically. In response to the coups, Ecowas, the economic bloc of West Africa, placed economic, political, and geographic sanctions against the three countries. In response, the foreign ministers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger recently got together for a bit of a brainstorming session whereby they recommended creating a confederation as a stepping stone toward a grand vision of uniting these West African neighbors in a federation. Similarly, faced with an economic huddle late last November, the economy and finance ministers threw in some recommendations, such as setting up a stabilization fund, an investment bank, and a committee that's ready to study the ins and outs of an economic and monetary union. Furthermore, in mid-September, the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger signed a mutual defense pact. They even went so far as to coin it the Liptako-Gourma Charter, creating the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. This brings us to our question: could Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali join forces to become one supercountry? To find this out, stick around as we unravel the twists and turns of this potential supergroup. To begin answering the question, let us first review these countries' histories. Let's start with the basics: geography. Burkina Faso sits in the middle of West Africa. And right northeast of Burkina Faso is the largest country in West Africa, Niger. In addition, located in the northwest of the country, is Mali. Therefore, these countries share a geographic border with one another. Further, these countries share a similar history of being colonized by France, from which they gained their independence in 1960. However, ever since, they have become subject to perennial coups and power struggles. Besides, due to instability, some, like Mali, joined forces with its neighbor Senegal to form the short-lived Mali Federation. Fast forward to today, and we find these three nations contemplating a different kind of collaboration. For example, the foreign ministers are talking about forming a confederation and an economic union. Also, they have gone to the extent of forming the Alliance of Sahel States, with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger signing mutual defense pacts. But in order for this collaboration to work, several factors should align. And this brings us to our first question. What is the political landscape in these countries? First up, each of the three countries has its own set of leaders, government structures, and recent developments. For instance, Burkina Faso has been under a military regime since the 2022 coup, and currently they're navigating a path to political stability with President Ibrahim Traoré holding the reins and steering the ship through diplomatic waves and international pressure. Next on the political stage, Mali. Fresh from a 2020 coup, they've got Colonel Assimi Goïta leading the charge, and then we have Niger, the political juggernaut that was led by President Mohamed Bazoum, who was elected but got the boot in a military ousting in July, and this caused a political plot twist that led to the birth of the Alliance of Sahel States. Notably, the foreign ministers of these military-ruled nations recently recommended creating a confederation, envisioning a grand federation uniting Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which is called the Alliance of Sahel States. Moreover, in the recent two-day meeting in Mali's capital, Bamako, the foreign ministers, fueled by ambition, emphasized the potential for peace, stability, and economic development through a strengthened political alliance. The main motive behind the formation of the alliance is the resistance to international pressure for a swift return to civilian rule, and the ongoing insurgencies had become part of the storyline. As a result, the three countries have endeavored to sign a defense pact, creating a united front against threats to sovereignty or territorial integrity. What are the economic factors in the quest for unification? The three countries, all under military juntas, are eyeing not just a political but also a monetary alliance. General Tiani of Niger spilled the beans on national television, hinting at a move that could shake up the region. Notably, the West African CFA franc, used by these countries, has been pegged to the euro and criticized as a relic of French colonial rule. But our protagonists are considering a currency shakeup, potentially abandoning this historical tie and forging a new financial identity. As a result, Burkina Faso's military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, spilled the beans on his vision. The alliance of Sahel states, he says, is not just about defense, it's an economic alliance in the making. And in November, the finance ministers of these nations joined forces, issuing a joint statement recommending a committee to explore an economic and monetary union. But that's not all. They're talking about a joint stabilization fund and an investment bank, the tools for a financial revolution. Therefore, as these countries are at odds with Ecowas, their path to economic evolution might just be a path less traveled. It's a risk, but it's also an opportunity to redefine their economic destiny. So this brings us to ask ourselves, challenges to unification? To start off, it is important to note that these three countries have distinct histories, each carrying its own set of challenges that may act as roadblocks on the path to unity. Notably, the pages of history reveal instances of political unrest, and changes in leadership make it challenging to create a seamless picture of unity. Besides, each country boasts an array of cultures, languages, and traditions, and thus balancing these diverse elements to create a harmonious whole is no small feat. Additionally, while unifying could lead to shared resources and economic advantages, it's crucial to address existing economic gaps among these nations. Also, breaking free from the French-controlled CFA franc presents a myriad of challenges since it's a historical financial web, and establishing economic independence is no easy feat. Furthermore, the political hurdles are quite evident since these countries face isolation, sanctions, and security limitations due to their military regimes. But what are the opportunities for this federation? Although there are challenges, as noted before, the opportunities that await Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali are immense, as the collaboration brings about shared prosperity and stability. For instance, the pooling of natural resources, agricultural potential, and industrial capabilities could create an economic powerhouse in West Africa. Besides, economic independence from the French-controlled CFA franc will not just represent a financial shift but act as a statement of autonomy and a step towards economic sovereignty. Also, the unification could lead to a more robust and coordinated security apparatus, enhancing the collective ability to combat threats by increasing the capability to fight off terrorist attacks in the Sahel region, a task that coordinated efforts from the French military and former governments failed. Finally, despite facing suspension from America and the European Union, a unified front could potentially rebuild international trust and open doors for collaboration. Conclusion: unification, the merging of borders, and the forging of new alliances are complex puzzles with no clear answer. History tells us stories of both successes and failures in African attempts at unity. On one hand, we have the African Union, a beacon of successful continental collaboration. On the other hand, we have the challenges faced by the defunct East African Federation, reminding us that the road to unity can be riddled with obstacles. Furthermore, geopolitically, regional dynamics play a pivotal role. And this brings us to the question: will these three nations align their stars and create a new constellation, or will the forces of history and diversity keep them distinct entities? Only time will reveal the answers. Now, dear viewers, this is where you come in. If you've enjoyed our exploration today, then let's keep this conversation alive. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on our future adventures. Ciao!